Scene 1.
Our story begins in 1789 during the First Congress.
The Constitution gives us the power to create the courts of the federal judicial system, and as part of that responsibility, we have passed the Judiciary Act of 1789. Among other things, this act gives the Supreme Court the ability to issue writs of mandamus, court orders that direct governmental officials to take a specific legal action. Nice work, everyone.
11 years pass.
Scene 2. John Adams and Thomas Jefferson have a conversation.
The election of 1800 is only days away, and as the sitting president, I intend to defeat you, Mr. Jefferson. I beat you 4 years ago, and I will do it again.
Mr. Adams, the country has grown tired of your pro-British leanings. It is time for us to build a new republic, freed from the injustices of our past and independent of our overly strict political parents. You and your Federalist allies will cede your power.
The voting begins on Friday, October 31st, and continues until Wednesday, December 3rd, 1800. Jefferson has won the popular vote, but the Electoral College now meets in Congress to cast their votes. Back then, electors cast 2 votes, one for president and another intended to be for vice president. The candidate that receives the most votes becomes president. However, Thomas Jefferson and his running mate, Aaron Burr, tied the vote. In the case of a tie, the election goes to the House of Representatives.
We've cast 35 different ballots, and we also keep getting a tie. Finally, on our 36th attempt, Jefferson received one more vote than Burr, and he is elected president, with Burr as the vice president. The incumbent, John Adams, has lost. Next, we'll pass the 12th Amendment to the Constitution to fix this problem so it doesn't happen again. From now on, when electors cast their votes for president and vice president, they'll do so for a single ticket. Presidential candidates must run as a slate with a vice president.
Scene 3. John Adams, John Marshall, and William Marbury have a conversation.
Well, shoot. I thought we had him. I have only a few weeks before Jefferson becomes president, so I better make the most of them. I am going to fill all those judicial vacancies that Congress created when it passed the Judiciary Act of 1789.
But sir, if you pass those now, won't they be overturned by Jefferson?
I'll sign them on midnight the day before Jefferson's inauguration, if I have to.
Okay, who are you going to appoint?
Well, let's see. We are going to need a Chief Justice for the Supreme Court. John, you're my Secretary of State and you've been great. How about it?
I would be pleased to, John. It would be my honor to serve as chief on the highest court.
Great, great. In addition, how about if we appoint Will Marbury to be Justice of the Peace for the District of Columbia? How about it, Will? Sounds like a cushy job, don't it?
That sounds great. What does a Justice of Peace do anyway?
Well, they keep the peace, Will. Do you think you can do that?
Sure I can. Sure I can.
Mr. President, if you make these appointments at the 11th hour, how are we going to make sure that the appointments take their new posts? I mean, what's to stop Thomas Jefferson from simply ignoring your appointments?
Well, John, that's going to be up to you, old friend. Right now, you're the Secretary of State, right?
Yes, I am.
Well, that means it's your responsibility to deliver these commissions to my appointees. Do you think you can get a memo to yourself about making you Chief Justice for the Supreme Court?
I think I can do so in a timely and efficient manner, sir.
Good, good. But there are a lot of these things to get out. Do your best to get all these commissions to my judicial appointees before Jefferson is sworn into office. Who knows what those Democrat Republicans have in store for us? Oh, and while you're at it, take all the letter F's off their keyboards so they can no longer properly write their president's name.
Sure, but what's a keyboard?
Never mind that. Just make haste. Remember, If you don't get all of those commissions delivered, then it will be up to whoever Jefferson appoints to Secretary of State to deliver them. We cannot trust that appointments will happen under such circumstances.
I shall do my best.
Scene 4. Thomas Jefferson and James Madison have a conversation.
Meanwhile, on the other side of the political spectrum, there's a celebratory mood.
Congratulations, Mr. President.
Why, thank you, James. I'm pleased to have finally succeeded in my pursuit of this high office. While I have your attention, there's something important I'd like to ask you.
Of course, sir. How can I be of service?
I'd like to ask you to serve as my Secretary of State.
I'd be honored, sir.
Scene 5.
After the inauguration, with Jefferson in the newly built White House and Madison serving as Secretary of State, James Madison makes a surprising discovery. He rushes to tell Jefferson about it.
Good day, Mr. President.
Good day, Mr. Secretary. How can I help you?
Mr. President, there's something you should know. On his way out of office, President Adams made several last-minute judicial appointments.
Well, that's not too surprising. There were a number of vacancies in the judicial branch. I have no doubt that Adams sought to fill those before he left office.
Indeed, sir. The Judiciary Act also says that it is the responsibility of the Secretary of State to deliver the commissions to the President's appointees.
Is that so?
Yes, sir. However, John Marshall, my predecessor, was not able to deliver all of those commissions prior to your inauguration.
I see.
Mr. President, I have no intention of delivering Mr. Adams' commissions.
No, of course not. Why should you? The posts remain vacant officially, and I shall make my own appointments.
Yes, sir. I quite agree.
Scene 6. William Marbury and John Adams have a conversation.
John, I'm quite displeased.
Well, I can see that, Will. Just try to calm down.
I know it was difficult for John Marshall to deliver all of those last-minute commissions in a timely manner, but I'm quite annoyed that was the one left out. He seemed to have no trouble making sure he took his post as Chief Justice.
Well, let's not assume the worst, Will. It wasn't too hard for him to deliver a commission to himself. I quite regret that he did not get yours to you in time.
James Madison has absolutely no intention in delivering that commission to me, but I feel we should compel him to. I have a legal right to my new job.
Yes, I believe you do. And I think we can prove it too.
Yes, I think we can.
In fact, the Judiciary Act gives us the appropriate tools. I recall that the Supreme Court has the power to issue a writ of mandamus. Using this writ, we can ask the courts to compel James Madison to deliver your commission.
Yes, that's a brilliant strategy. It's Congress that has given the Supreme Court this power. In the Judiciary Act, this separation of the power things is working in our favor here. Congress gives the court a power to compel the executive to do its job.
What we need to do is bring a lawsuit against James Madison. Within this suit, you should sue him for not delivering your commission. Request that the court issue a writ of mandamus to compel him to finally give you your rightful job.
Scene 7. At the Supreme Court, Chief Justice John Marshall speaks to James Madison and William Marbury.
Before going to deliver his decision to Marbury and Madison, Chief Justice John Marshall does some deep thinking out loud.
This is going to be a difficult situation for me. On one hand, Congress has given the court the power to issue a writ of mandamus. If I consider the Judiciary Act to be constitutional, then issuing of this writ must also be constitutional. However, if I declare these constitutional and force Madison to deliver the commission, what would happen if Jefferson and Madison simply ignored the order? Could this cause a constitutional crisis, or could it perhaps undermine the authority of the court and show that the executive branch is more powerful than the judicial? On the other hand, if I do not force Madison to deliver the commission, I risk a political crisis by jeopardizing the long-standing relationship of trust I built with John Adams. I think I know what I'm going to do.
John Marshall goes to speak with Marbury and Madison.
Gentlemen, there are two separate legal questions at hand in this case. First, does Marbury have the right to his commission, or did it expire since it was undelivered when the new president took office? And second, does the Supreme Court have the ability to order the President and Secretary of State to deliver a commission using the writ of mandamus? On the first question, there is no doubt that Marbury has the right to the commission. The appointment was legal and sound. Mr. Marbury, you absolutely have the right to your appointment as Justice of the Peace.
All right. I knew we will win this thing.
The second question, though, is a little bit more complicated. Congress gave the judiciary the power to issue a writ of mandamus in the Judiciary Act of 1789. However, this stands in conflict with the Constitution. Article 3 of the Constitution does not list petitions for writs of mandamus as a part of the court's power. A law passed by Congress and signed by the President cannot supersede the Constitution. Since these two stand in conflict with one another, the Constitution must prevail. Unless Congress wants to amend the Constitution, Congress does not have the power to define the court's original jurisdiction by law. Therefore, I must declare section of the Judiciary Act of 1789, in which the Congress gave the court the power to issue writs of mandamus, is unconstitutional. I am not declaring the whole act to be unconstitutional, just this one provision that is inconsistent with the Constitution.
Oh no.
I see where you're going with this.
The court does not have the power to compel anyone to a writ of mandamus to deliver a commission. I'm sorry, Will. Even though you have a legal right to your job, it is not within my power to compel Mr. Madison to give it to you.
But wait, John. You are the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court. You mean to tell me there is something over which you do not have power? Come on.
Indeed, Will. I have no more power than the Constitution gives me. Congress was wrong to write a law that gives the court a power that the Constitution does not intend.
Ah, yes, you're very clever, Mr. Marshall.
Why, thank you, Mr. Madison. What is your meaning?
You want me to believe that you are somehow restricting your powers? Your hands are tied, are they? Congress was wrong to try to give you more power, was it? You'd like me to think that you're being magnanimous, humble even, wouldn't you? I can see right through your hubris, Mr. Chief Justice.
And how is that?
Sure, you've restricted the court's powers. Your decision in this case gives Congress a minor reprimand for trying to give the court a power that was not in the Constitution, but it's a slap on the wrist.
How can you be sure?
Because what you've really done here is interpret the Constitution.
Oh, have I?
You have. You may be limiting the Supreme Court's power in the short run, sure. With this decision, you do not have the power to issue writs of mandamus, but what you really have in this decision is a much bigger power.
And what would that be?
Don't be so coy. You've established the power of judicial review.
I suppose I have, haven't I?
By offering us an interpretation of the Constitution, the very act of declaring a section of the Judiciary Act of 1789 unconstitutional sets a legal precedent that the Supreme Court has the power to A, interpret the Constitution, and B, declare entire laws or sections of laws unconstitutional.
And what makes you think that the court will use this power again?
I have a hunch. Oh, I'd like to point out that the power of judicial review is also not in the Constitution. You just created it by simply doing it.
Now, what exactly are you going to do about it?
Absolutely nothing. I got what I wanted out of this. I do not have to issue any of those darn commissions that Adams made on his way out the door.
I did like to be mad about not getting my commissions, but your ruling says that I have the right to it. So I don't have a legal leg to stand on. It is hard to argue with your ruling.
Indeed.